it's Yvonne here, and thank you so much for joining us for another Mornings with Mayish. So excited. I have Ashley Rodriguez here of Garden and Grace Floral Design. She is also our next Mayish Design Star. Hopefully you watched her video for July, and we have a next one, her next segment coming out in probably about a week or so. So super excited to share that with you guys. And we are going to be thinking outside of the vase today, diving into what it takes to work in unique environments like pools of deep water, along with strategies for working with pros that are not florists with Ashley today. So super excited. I hope you stick around, bring your questions, say hello, let us know where you are listening from. And I see everything is live and working well. Hi to all of our Instagrammers, Facebookers, and YouTubers. Before I bring on Ashley, I just wanted to bring up a few things. I want to know, is anyone going to SAF Next Gen Live event that kicks off this Sunday in Miami? I'm actually going to be there on Monday. So just wanted to kind of share that with you. I'll put the link in the comments if you're going to be in the area, or if you're in the area. That would be fun to see you. So if you see me, make sure you stop and say hello. All right, so here's that link. And then also, I wanted to make sure if that you've heard about our new e-commerce program called Prebook. Prebook is an online tool that helps you place orders for future events. We have hundreds of products with pricing available. It's really cool. You can order up to a month in advance. So you save lots of time with pricing, pictures, all of that up front. And of course, your trusted sales rep is attached to the whole entire process. And it's just really great. Love our e-commerce tools that we have. You can shop anytime from anywhere at your convenience 24/7. So super cool. Make sure you check that out. Let me get rid of this and then I'll show you that. And yeah, check it out. Put a link in if you want to learn more about all of our really cool tools. I'm just clicking around a lot. I'm trying some new features here, the new captions. So yeah, check that out. And that's it. I just want to get this show started. I'm going to bring on Ashley. Hey, Ashley, how are you doing?
Hey.
Do you hear me? Hey, there we go. We lost you for a second.
Yeah, I can.
I can hear you. Everything sounds
Hello.
good. You look good. Welcome. So I see we
Thank
have a few
you.
viewers and we got over 30 right now on Instagram. So I just wanted to say good morning to everyone. Again, if you have any questions for Ashley or I while we're chatting, go ahead and put them in the comments. We'll be tracking those and answering them as we go. And then also for everyone that is watching, I always get this question every single time. So yes, we will have a replay available. I'll put it up on the blog. We'll share it. You can get the replay on Facebook and YouTube pretty much right away. But up on the blog will be the podcast version, a video replay along with the show notes for those who want that. So just wanted to let you guys know. Ashley, before we get started, again, thanks for coming. Can you just introduce yourself a little bit and share about your flower story? Like, how did you get to where we are today?
Yeah, so I'm Ashley Rodriguez, and I think so many of us have, unique flower stories, and mine is certainly no exception. I grew up in a really creative environment. My dad was a gemologist and had a little jewelry store in a small town in Vermont. My mom owned a bakery in the same like beautiful Victorian building. So it was really neat, and definitely kind of was the framework for just wanting to have, keep creativity in my life. But it was also, something that neither of my parents went to college. The business, could be up and down. And so I was kind of told, growing up, you're going to go to college, you're going to get a 9 to 5 job that will pay you a steady income, and so I thought that that was the right move for me. And at the time it was. I went to college, certainly was grateful for that opportunity. Um, and in college, I got a job with a florist. And that was actually what my dad had done to make money in high school. So, went and found a job to help pay for college. And this particular florist actually really only specialized in what I do now, which is mostly just weddings, large scale events. And I learned so much in that process. I learned obviously a lot about mechanics and just the basics, but also about the kind of business, maybe longer term, I would want to have if I ever delved into that. Of course, at the time, I thought that going the mainstream route, not having a creative job that wouldn't pay the bills, so to speak, was the right move. So I, for years, after graduating, worked in the nonprofit world and kind of more in that corporate environment, and just really always fell back on, especially after creating the floral design for my own wedding, had an Etsy shop with my sister through all of this, but just always at night, and on the weekends would be doing creative projects. So that evolved into Garden and Grace. And really right before the pandemic, I realized that I wanted to kind of make the floral design more than just a hobby or a side business. I really wanted to make that more of my full-time effort. And throughout my journey, just personally, had a lot of struggles, and this was shared on the blog too, with infertility. And so really floral design kind of saved me in some of my darkest times, struggling with that. So to put a fine point on how much flowers and floral design made me happy as a mom, I actually had like a miracle pandemic baby a year and a half ago. And, that really for me, I think sealed the deal with my two other adopted daughters who love the floral design business also, I should say, that this was really the right move for me. So that's kind of my really roundabout story. I actually got the email from Mayesh about possibly doing this design feature the week I submitted my resignation to my 9 to 5 full-time fundraising job. So I think if that isn't an affirmation that, this is the right path, I don't know what is. Plus, obviously my third child, but so that's how we got here. So definitely excited to just, continue to build this business of mine. Yeah.
Yes. I love hearing everyone's unique stories and just how you came to be in this place that you are right now. And I just, again, wanted to just thank you for sharing kind of your personal side of things that you've gone through. Cause I feel like I'm a big sharer. I like share about my whole entire life, no matter what capacity I'm in. If I'm in like, a business meeting, I talk about my kids all the time. I talk about what we're struggling with. And I do that though because one, I feel like it's helping and it heals me, but I also, I'm always hoping that it's actually helping someone else and like kind of understanding like kind of some of the processes that we've had to go through with different things too. And so I just wanted to say that I really appreciate you doing that and just being brave because that's not always the easiest thing to do.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel so strongly about it too. And just really grateful, to have the opportunity to share. Um, and that, folks want to hear the story too. I
Yeah.
agree. I think it's important to share
Yeah,
for sure.
absolutely. So I know Kimber of Water Bear Photography is a big part of kind of what you've done for the Mayish Design Star video series that you shot. So do you want to talk a little bit about how you got connected with Kimber?
Yeah, I would be happy to do that. Yeah. So it's kind of funny, how these things work. But Kimber and I met on a photo shoot for a venue here in downtown Gainesville, Florida. And I just really felt so connected to her kind of instantly because of um, her professional demeanor, quite frankly. I'm very type A. I like if I'm going to say I'm doing something, I want to do it to the maximum. And she is very much the same way, I think, in her professional and personal life. So she was really direct and like so clear in her communication with us on this photo shoot that we worked on together. And we really just hit it off from there. I think we both had similar design styles that we like. And in addition to that, actually, as we got to know each other, found out that we both went to the same undergraduate education in Texas. We both went to Texas A&M University, which is somewhat random as we live in Gainesville, Florida. So, from there, just really over the years, got to know each other better. Funny enough, right before the pandemic, she and I were chatting about just some projects and for me, that was really right before the pandemic hit. I was actually at a point of, after 7 years of surgeries and lots of issues with my infertility journey, really kind of confided in her that I thought I was sort of coming to the end of that journey, of trying. And she sat there and, kind of was there with me and supported me. And it could not have been more than a couple of months later that I found out that I was pregnant with my son. And she helped me create the most elaborate maternity shoot. I mean, you could not convince me I was not Beyonce for this thing. And so, that just really, from a personal and professional standpoint, I really trust her. I trust her vision. And she's just a really professional person. I know that when I work with her, the end result is, always going to be amazing. So, kind of serendipitous, but I love how that works out sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so I want to start talking a little bit about the videos that you guys shot. So obviously, your floor installation design concept, an underwater English garden, isn't something that can be used in everyday design. So can you share with our
Yeah.
viewers like how they could incorporate something like this into their business? Because it's definitely a very unusual concept. And for those of you who are listening or watching or even listening to the replay later, the podcast, make sure you go ahead and watch video number one because Ashley and Kimber really dive into kind of the planning process, which I think is really great. And then the video number two will be kind of showing the design setup and the mechanics and the final result. So really great stuff. But I think it would be fun just to talk a little bit about kind of, again, how do other people kind of incorporate something like this into their business?
Yeah. Can you hear me on my end? I hope my video didn't freeze.
Yes, I can hear you, and it looks like
Can
you're
you hear me?
synced now because before you weren't.
Okay.
Like you were talking
Okay.
and
Okay.
there's a little
Awesome.
bit of a delay.
Oh, okay. So yeah, happy to kind of share more about that. And I totally agree. I think one of the great things about doing installations that I always think is like the first important thing to think about is how you can scale the mechanics to something either larger or smaller.
Right.
So in this case, with doing the underwater shoot, for me, it was thinking about mechanics and scaling, obviously larger, but also thinking about the context of it being underwater. But someone could easily look at that first video, for example, and then we'll get more into it in the second video and understand things like, using wire to create forms that are not floral foam, but that can be used in a variety of settings. You can scale it up or down. One thing that really worked well for this installation was the wire kind of, pillows that we created that we then wrapped in more mesh and to ensure that the stems would not float up in that case. But again, that's just a mechanics, that can work for a lot of things and whether it's a centerpiece or otherwise. And then the other thing that I think was so fun and that could easily be scalable too was just the design elements that I liked that I brought into this that could easily be scaled in a number of directions. The first being just generally texture. I love texture, and I think we used a lot of that in the design. We had everything from feathers to, the softer kind of feel mixed with a little bit of the coarser elements, so that I think in everything there is an element that can be utilized. And then also a design idea that I liked that I wanted to incorporate into this was kind of color blocking and also just more of a blocking of flower type. So I really like some of that trend that I'm seeing right now. Of specific flowers, in kind of a grouping and doing using that design, in a number of interesting ways. So all of those things I think can easily be scaled for different projects, and that's really how I like to think about a unique installation anyway. Taking what we know that can work, and and scaling it to whatever we're needing it for, basically.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. And I feel like you could easily just take everything out of the water and put it on land and it would be beautiful there too. Obviously the water creates like
Right.
this crazy uh ureth- you know ethereal type of feel. Like it's just otherworldly almost, and really
Yeah.
just amazing and stunning at the end of the day. Um, like literally, you guys wait until you see the pictures and the video. Like it's so amazing. But yeah, you could totally take this and use it for a wedding or event. But like the concept itself, right? Like being like doing an underwater shoot. This would be more for like an editorial type of thing. Like what like
Right.
how are you going to use this for your business? Because I'm sure you have a lot of plans for it.
Yeah, yes, yeah, exactly. It is exactly that. I think the idea that Kimber and I had for this, even to an extent before, you and Mayesh reached out, which was so exciting, was that we would use this really as kind of an idea that could be utilized in a number of ways. So, for example, Kimber does a lot of elopement and wedding floral underwater shoots. So, this could be something we could do in a number of settings that I think would, a lot of people come from all over the world, for example, to come to our Florida Springs. So, if you really wanted to elevate, and bring a level of just absolute luxury and uniqueness to your wedding photography, I mean, this would be it. Not only do people come to have photographs underwater, but I mean, this edition, I think, of the installation that we did with the florals just takes it, to a whole new level. But similarly, it's a very editorial look too, in the sense that I think this could be utilized in a number of ways. Companies, corporate opportunities. I think the sky is the limit. And what's so neat, and what I know you and I had chatted about in the past, is just this idea of having these designs underwater is so ethereal. It is so otherworldly and so unique.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes it, so special and different for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because when we saw you talk about in your when you submitted to be Maisha Design Star and talking about underwater, I immediately went to like we have one design that Beth O'Reilly did years ago where she did an underwater flower design just in a big giant vase, but it's literally a very very popular video even to this day, even though it's very it's was done a long time ago. People like love it. And I
Yep.
don't think it's something that people really think about often. And both of us live in Florida, and I've actually been to the Springs. If you guys have never been to the
Yeah.
Springs in Florida, you need to go because it's really absolutely amazing. There's actually this little spot, Weeki Wachee Springs, and
Yep.
I took my girls, I got them little mermaid outfits and everything, and like they have like a whole mermaid show that's underwater, right? It's so amazing. And you
Yep.
actually
Yeah.
mentioned that you work with mermaids, right? For the models.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So a lot of the models, because of the nature of this work, right, and keeping safety a priority, the models that are used are definitely individuals who are either, mermaids part time, or do a lot of free diving underwater and underwater modeling in particular, because that is really an element to this that makes it also a unique challenge, where these models need to be trained and able to stay underwater and pose for a minute or two at a time, which the athleticism needed for that, number one, to get down underneath 10 feet of water and to stay there, is very impressive. So yes, a lot of our models also do are mermaids by day, and do a lot of that type of thing, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, I love it. It's very fun. And that's,
Yeah.
I think, a really great segue into kind of the next question. Like, what are some tips for thinking creatively about mechanics in a unique environment? I know one of the things was talking about like the safety of models, but I know there's a whole bunch of other kind of things that you had to think about for doing a shoot like this.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And actually, in the end of the second video, you can hear my audio. You don't see my face because I had just actually come out of the pool because Kimber wanted me to try to model a little bit to understand what it's like, and that was quite the experience. Because it really is, for example, in my case, trying to do this and understand how the installation would incorporate with the models, they actually had to put a weight belt on me because I was expending so much energy just trying to get down at the bottom of the pool that I wasn't able to like really hold my breath and like pose it all right. So, and a lot of these models are in, for example, like ball gowns. So there are a lot of components that we had to think about. So number one, not having where the models would be, we could not have anything that would be sticking up or a potential hazard that would weight them down and cause them to, be essentially stuck underwater. That would obviously be really unsafe. And we also had safety swimmers at every point of every part of the shoot, which was essential. And actually, at one point, we had a model who definitely needed, immediate help getting to the life kind of preserver and everything. So all critical things. From the installation standpoint then too, we had to think about the bottom of the pool, for example. We had a boxwood layer of just greenery. And while that might seem simple, we actually had to weight each piece of that down because we didn't want, again, there to be any entanglement hazards, basically, right? So when the models are on the bottom of the pool, want to make sure that even that seemingly simple component, could be weighted down appropriately. So we used fishing weights on all corners of that type of thing. Even the kind of mesh pillows to add dimension of different pieces that we use, made sure those were all able to be easily moved so that they would not cause, any hazard to the models. And then the large arch piece itself, we kind of had to have this unique combination, right, of it being sturdy and stable enough to stay at the bottom of the pool, but also lightweight enough in some respect to where it would not theoretically, fall on a model or, cause them to be pinned underwater. So it was quite the scenario of things to go through just from a mechanics and then like safety perspective for sure.
Yeah, that's crazy. So, have you ever done like a full I know you've done plenty of shoots like with water and like models like floating in
Mhm.
water. Have you done like the fully submerged type of thing um
So
before
we
this?
had, Kimber and I had, yeah, we had started to kind of delve into this world in the last year or two, I would say. And so we started with, and this is a great example, I think, of how you can kind of scale up mechanics. Like it was definitely a bit of trial and error. We started with things like I made a floral chandelier. And we tested how we would submerge that and how the model would interact with that. We did kind of an underwater cloud installation, again, kind of testing out different ways of um, keeping the flowers either submerged completely on the bottom or floating halfway. How could we do different elements and dimension, and how could we bring that more to life underwater? So definitely, I would say, we had some trial and error. The biggest thing, of course, that we learned very quickly, like obviously we couldn't do anything with, floral foams or some of the more traditional, I would say, mechanics that would have certainly made things, I would say, easier in one aspect, but really, I think the wire mesh, the when we need to, using things like fishing weights or the zip ties and fishing line, to float things. I think those are definitely aspects of mechanics on land that worked for this really well, and that we've kind of been able to test and figure out how to kind of perfect in this environment.
Right. Yeah. So cool. I love it. Um, okay, so what are some strategies that you have used that work well for getting the best end result product when working with other professionals who aren't florists and don't understand kind of what you need to be thinking about and how you're going to accomplish things?
Right. So this is actually, I think, one of my favorite questions because I think that it's so important, and it's definitely how I try to, operate my business and myself, personally. I think that the best solution always is to, number one, surround yourself with people who you really mesh well with, who you feel, are professional and will help you advance whatever the look of a design or installation is. And so, again, I kind of point to, I know and I trust Kimber. I would literally have weights on me and go underwater and do try out modeling with her because I trust her and I know I'll be safe and that she will help me create the best end result for a project. And what I like about the second video that I hope others will enjoy too is that that's a really big component of it. It's not, though I am so grateful to be featured in the Mayesh Design Star series, it's definitely a collaboration, and it's about how I kind of am leaning on Kimber from a photographer and visual and underwater safety perspective to ensure that the photos of the design that I create are the best that they can be, and that everyone involved is, and having a good time safely and enjoying themselves and helping us create the best end product. So I definitely think that it's a combination of those things, but truly I have found that um, allowing myself to really be me and working with others who just want to kind of help lift me up and vice versa has always benefited my business as well as others, right? Like I like that collaboration. We're making each other better by kind of leaning on each other's expertise and collaborating in that way. So I think that's huge for something like this.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. So you mentioned a little bit when you were talking about your story of kind of evolving. Can you tell us a little bit more about your how your business has grown and evolved from a hobby to a financially successful small business? And I find it interesting too
Yeah.
because I you mentioned the whole Etsy piece, and I was like, "She,
Mm,
you're still involved with Etsy, which I don't see that very often from a floral standpoint. So I would love to hear about
yeah.
that as well."
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, it is an interesting kind of component for sure. I'll start, just by saying the Etsy piece was really my way for a long time of keeping, the hobby alive, kind of, before really going more full time in my efforts. And so, really though, with Etsy, there's really not an option to do like fresh design. So it's definitely more of the dried and the faux um, florals from that perspective. Can you still hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. You
Okay.
visually went away, but I can still hear
Okay.
you.
Okay. Hopefully I'll pop back on. We're having storms here right now, so I'm sure that's not helping.
No, it never
But
does.
so that was really, I did a lot of faux and fresh designs that I would just ship all over the country and the world, actually, in some cases. And so that's sort of, I've still do that on occasion because I actually still like those mediums to an extent. But the fresh is really my love. And I think it's such a fleeting beauty, right? Of fresh flowers and the luxury that that creates. But I will say, in starting my business as a hobby, essentially, and growing it truly from a place of loving the creativity and wanting to keep that in my life, I think I was able to really focus on growing the business itself in that way. And so I was able to, when it didn't make sense, particularly because I just didn't have the time, I was able to turn down jobs that maybe if I had been more concerned on the financial side, I would have just taken and probably burned myself out a little bit. And I think, again, growing up with parents, who had small businesses, and I saw what that toll could be like of the ups and downs. I actually think it was a blessing in disguise, kind of, that I was, that I started out more part time and then scaled it up. Because I was able to be really thoughtful in the network that I built, what venues I wanted to work with, or other vendors I wanted to work with. And so that has served me really well. The other thing I really pride myself on that I don't think we florists talk about a lot necessarily is that for me, the way to be financially thriving in a business is a combination of things. And certainly, the equations for how to be, make money and be profitable certainly play into that. But for me also, I'm a really big like budget person. So finding ways to kind of save on the product side means a lot to me and is interesting to me. And so one thing, for example, even with this shoot that I felt we did, I mean, there were some gorgeous luxury stems that we used, but we also used a lot of carnations, and we used, things that were more cost effective that we could have more stems of. And so I think it's that combination of, financial savvy with the networking and obviously, growing the business otherwise. and the brand has been really successful for me. And I'm glad at the end of the day that it started out more as a hobby and I could really thoughtfully grow it. Because I really do think I would have probably, burnt out just with the financial weight of trying to make it work all at once, given
Right.
kind of my background too. So, yeah, so I think that's been really, really great for the business for sure.
That's great. Yeah, I love what you said about kind of, how you did have luxury flowers, but you did also incorporate more kind of the everyday items that might
Yeah,
not be as expensive. And it just ties into kind of what Sue McCleary was talking about as well. She did like a whole like
exactly.
stage presentation about using, kind of everyday flowers. And
Yeah.
they sometimes get a bad rap, but there's
Right. But
still
they're really, yeah,
yeah, but, like,
yeah,
we
exactly. They're,
but, yeah, you incorporated them, and it wasn't like, there's not one ugly thing about it, you know? It's it's
you would
still
never look at
beautiful.
that. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I like. I like that creativity too. And I love that, and I work with Maria in the Miami office, to source those flowers. And I just love that that's, an option for me. I think that helps me be successful, in my business too. So yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Awesome, yeah, shout out to Maria. Hi, Maria.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Anything else that you wanna talk about for this shoot? I know there were so many details, and again, the
Yeah.
first video, guys, I shared the link, so that way if you haven't watched it yet, please do so, and get ready for video number 2 that's coming out where, Ashley goes into the design mechanics, you get to see them putting things together underwater, seeing kind of the underwater shoot piece of it, and then the final design with models and everything. It's really amazing. But I'm not sure. There's so many things, then so many different questions I feel like I could ask, but I just wanted to see if there's anything else that you wanted to mention about that.
I think, I'm excited too for everybody to just see the final version, of what was created. It is so unique. I welcome any comments or thoughts and certainly any connections from the community that come out of this. I have definitely found throughout this process and just kind of evolving my business that I enjoy sharing my creative process and just the things that seem to have worked for me and as I've evolved in this business. It's never too late to start, right? And so I definitely will look forward to sharing more on my Garden and Grace YouTube channel just about how we do some of this mechanics type stuff going forward. But I'm just so grateful for the opportunity. I mean, thank you to Mayesh, number one, shout out, because it was just so much fun. And definitely, I learned a lot, and I'm excited to share with the world what we did. So
Yes.
it's been great.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. And then you mentioned your YouTube channel. I'm going to get that link and share that with everyone. But do you have
Yeah.
any future plans or projects that you want to share with everyone?
Yeah, so definitely going to be doing more regular underwater shoots, actually, with Kimber, who, by the way, is right now in Ireland doing a photo shoot. So definitely looking forward to more international actually shoots with her in that capacity, but also just doing a lot more of. You'll see on my Instagram and, like I mentioned, the YouTube page, which is relatively new. That there are going to be a lot more. I'm just going to be sharing a lot more of kind of my how-tos and my thoughts. And I don't think there's always one way to do things. And so I love thinking creatively about mechanics and just the business side in general. So just, yeah, looking forward to sharing more of that on social media. And then actually, we just found out that because Kimber and I are both Texas A&M grads, we're actually going to be featured in our alma mater magazine, I think in the spring with this photo shoot potentially. So that'll be a fun one
Oh,
for
that's
sure.
awesome.
They brought us together.
Congrats. That'll be fun.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Yeah.
Um, I'm not sure if I can find you on YouTube. So shoot me over that link, and then that way I can put it in the show
Yeah,
notes for everyone. And we'll make sure
sure, will
that's
do.
included there. Awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, thank
Good.
you.
Yay. Well, thank you so much, Ashley. This was amazing. And make sure you share my thanks with Kimber as well. Like literally,
Will
guys, I've
do.
never seen anything like this before. So that's I get really, you guys know, I get really excited to share new things and things that I've never seen before. And I'm not saying that I've seen a ton or whatever, but I've been around for a little bit. So this is always really, really exciting. So thank you from my bottom of my heart, Ashley. I'm so excited. I'm so excited that you brought this concept to us and we were able to work with you on this amazing project.
Same. Yeah. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah, of course. Well, guys, that's a wrap on today's Mornings with Mayish. I hope that you had so much fun with us. Again, stay tuned for that second video. It's going to come out probably in a week or so, the beginning of the next month, August. Can you believe it's August already? I'm not ready for the summer to be done with. Like, kids go back to school, we go back to the crazy schedules. It's been so nice. I don't know about your summer, but I really enjoyed just chilling. So again, thank you so much for spending time with us. In a few weeks, I have Ryan O'Neill coming on from Curate, and we're going to be chatting about ideas on how to handle all this inflation that's going on with your business. So make sure you mark your calendars, stay tuned for more details, and I will see you all soon. Have a good one. Bye, everyone.